I've been reaching out to the Army all week to try to get information as to why Jonathan Lee, someone already facing serious charges, was not in custody. Today, I got answers. It was Annie working that night, that entire situation caught on surveillance camera. She tells me it was shocking, it was terrifying, but she also feels appreciative after facing a gun pointed right at her. Now investigators are on the hunt for those 2 remaining suspects. Now look, I want to show you guys, as I have a little bit more of a chance. Mike, you're fine where you are, because I'm gonna. So here is that unit that was coming down the street. You hear the sirens and you can see them coming. Now I want to show you right here on Pike. You saw it yourselves. Hundreds of people now gone, but still, that car still on fire. The smoke, the black clouds of smoke billowing up into the sky, but there are people who are taking selfies in front of it, taking pictures in front of it. And it's really coming down. You always see people talking about just how high the snow is, you know, this much or this much, but you know, let me just show you how much snow is here. For these fans, it's an amazing way to start off the new year, but the same goes for businesses as they're getting a big economic impact.
And if you guys are still looking for the party here at the press box, well, that game's about to start in just a few minutes, so it's cleanup time here. Most of the people that were here are going to go watch the actual game, but we're going to be here. We're going to be talking about it throughout the rest of the day, and we're hoping everybody enjoys the rest of their Thanksgiving. I'm going to help these guys clean up. They've been working hard out here. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
Just listen to this energy. Jonathan is getting everybody ramped up. I'm here with him. I'm ready for this game to start. We're going to be out here throughout the entire night. What do you think about tonight?
It's incredible. Whatever happens, happens tonight. But the fans are showing up and showing out, just like Marshawn said.
Yeah, well, we'll be here throughout the night reporting live in Queen Anne Beer Hall. I'm AJ Janivel for Fox 13 News. Oh my gosh, it's hot in there.
To law enforcement, they gave me some tips on how you can make sure that your packages stay yours this holiday season. So a lot of people get notifications sent right to their phone when their package arrives. Law enforcement suggests making sure you're home when that happens, or getting to know your neighbors and having them keep an eye out for your stuff when it arrives. When you leave the precinct, you're going to get yourself the lock and the key. Installation is simple. You just extend the lock, and then the law enforcement says these locks are only a deterrent to thieves, especially experienced ones. Brandon says on the surface, things seemed on the up and up. The person was able to answer all of his questions and his concerns. But Brandon says when he looked a little bit closer, things were not what they seemed. What we're talking about, it's a hose bib, and this is what you see outside of your house, but what you don't see is the pipe that is in the house. And what happens is when you have the hose bib turned off. Matthew, that victim was getting medical treatment here behind me, while witnesses say they waited about 2 hours for police to arrive. Meanwhile, witnesses say those suspects didn't even go that far. They just drove down the street to the beach.
Both girls dragged me out of my truck and started beating me.
They were just punching on her and holding her down on the asphalt.
A broad daylight beating for a pointless reason. It happened Saturday afternoon in West Seattle. I spoke to the victim over the phone. She doesn't want to use her name because she's terrified. She was in town from Yakima to visit her father, who's dealing with a brain injury after having 3 tumors removed. The victim tells me this was all because she accidentally cut off the suspects at the intersection.
They were right on top of me, and I was really scared I was going to get run over by my own vehicle.
The video shows the victim's car roll down the street where it crashed into another car. Then the suspects speed off, but witnesses say they did not go far. Someone on scene sent me this video of the Range Rover parked by Alki. You can see it is missing the front license plate and still has a piece of paper in the windshield, like the car in the assault video.
It's disheartening that Seattle police didn't show up in a timely manner. We could have got those girls. They were a mile away on the beach partying.
You responded faster than they did, and that was on Saturday. It's now Monday. I'm shocked.
Wendy Carrington is one of the Good Samaritans who tried to stop the assault. These look like the folks?
Oh yeah, they had the parking ticket on the front of their Land Rover.
I have pictures of both suspects. That Carrington confirmed. Pictures that the 22-year-old victim herself took after the assault. But Seattle police will not say if these are the suspects or not. They tell me they're still investigating. So we can't show them. The victim tells me Seattle police's response is making the entire incident that much more difficult to deal with.
Nobody's contacting me. Nobody's reaching out. Nobody is wanting to find these girls except for me.
And it's sad that this is the state of our city, that I have to worry, you have to worry, we all have to worry that we could be victimized, and then, you know, the criminals are emboldened. They can just run around knowing there's no accountability for their actions.
That victim tells me she spent hours in the hospital, then had to drive all the way back to Yakima by herself in her damaged vehicle. She says it was traumatic. Now, Seattle police say they're investigating. They're asking anyone with information to reach out to them, but Carrington, that Good Samaritan you heard in the story, told me that she tried to call investigators today, waited on hold, and then she was hung up on. Reporting live in Seattle, I'm AJ Janovel, Fox 13 News. Heart-wrenching cries as a friend realizes their loved one is shot. First responders doing compressions, trying to save the victim's life, but tragically, she dies. Not even 12 hours later, it's like nothing happened in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. Some visitors shocked to hear they parked their car where someone was just killed.
It makes me feel unsafe.
Investigators have not said much about the deadly shooting, including what led up to the violence or if they made an arrest. But police most likely were nearby. This deadly shooting happened less than 1,000 feet away from the police department. And Seattle police had extra patrols out this weekend for Pride festivities. This shooting also happened before 12:30 in the morning, when many bars and businesses are still open. The question, is this a preview of what's to come this summer?
You know, the gun violence is, unfortunately, it does pick up in the summertime.
A statement that now seems more like a prediction from Seattle police. This interview is from Thursday, when a 14-year-old was shot and killed outside of his home in South Seattle. Then Sunday morning, police responded to the Chinatown International District for another deadly shooting. A 35-year-old man killed. No arrests made in that case. Less than 24 hours later, this murder in Capitol Hill.
Can someone do anything about this? Can someone stop this? Do we have the power, the authority? Who's gonna keep us safe?
I reached out to Seattle city officials to get answers to those questions. I heard back from the Seattle Police Department, who responded with a statement essentially saying that they have been cracking down on violence with their task force since the spring, and they're focusing on repeat shooting suspects. I've also reached out to the mayor's office. I'll have their full statement on fox13seattle.com. It's important to note the city has seen 28 homicides so far this year. During the same time period last year, they had 34. Reporting in Seattle, AJ Janovel, Fox 13 News.
Where is Miles Hudson? That's what Seattle City courts want to know. This is a bench warrant to bring Hudson into custody, and the charges he's skipping out on aren't for his loud car. Instead, they're for allegedly terrifying and harassing a 23-year-old woman. Count 1, stalking. Count 2, disclosing intimate images. These are real accusations of a person victimized, demanding justice. Hudson already has an assault in the 4th conviction down in Renton, with a suspended sentence as long as he stays out of trouble. So where is the Belltown Hellcat owner?
As y'all can see, we in the GTA bunker with it, bro, and we about to turn this flat into a Hellcat demon, bro.
Here he is on his Instagram account, where 750,000 people keep up with his antics. Like his 4th of July plans for, quote, firework/splat war. What is that, you may ask? Well, this is a fireworks war.
I'm trying to make a deal, bro.
And these are splat guns. The 21-year-old is also currently on the hook to pay more than $80,000 to Seattle for fines connected to his illegal car. A car that still has not passed inspection, but is still making its way around Western Washington, according to Hudson's own posts.
I reached out to the Seattle City Attorney's Office to see how much of Hudson's fines he's paid. I also reached out to Hudson's defense attorney in regards to that bench warrant. I've not heard back from either party, but it is a holiday. The minute that we hear back, we'll keep you up to date. Now, Hudson is expected to appear in court again, At the end of this month, that is for those 2 reckless driving charges. The question is, will he show? Reporting in the newsroom, I'm AJ Janavel, Fox 13 News. Frankie, it's a party down here in the Central District. They got music going on, they got food, they got vendors, and then of course, they got some roller skating. These guys have been out here since noon going around. But while there's so much fun down here in the Central District, the focus of today is the very important meaning behind this holiday.
Seattle's Central District looked like a fairground on Wednesday.
If you fall, I'm going with you. But solidarity. I don't feel like falling.
At Judkins Park, people like London Cormier were getting their bearings.
What do you like about skating?
Just the groove.
The Skate Party to Freedom brings out people with skill levels from beginner.
I'm not breaking an ankle today.
All the way up to expert. Organizers tell me it gives the community the chance to get back to its roots.
So it's nice to bring them a piece of kind of what they used to grow up with outside, which is lovely on a wonderful day, and just a piece of our history. A lot of people roller skate as just a way to connect with others.
Across the street at Jimi Hendrix Park, the party continued.
It's different up here, the music, the vibe.
Tiana Darling tells me Juneteenth celebrations were very different when she grew up. She's excited that her children only will know the day as a U.S. federal holiday, and that events like the Africatown Community Land Trust and King County Equity Now Summer of Soul Juneteenth celebration give her family a chance to cherish their culture.
I came out here to be around our people and support our business. I love to give back to our people.
Everything must go. See aloud over yourself. See aloud.
Businesses lined the park, offering fun, shopping, and great eating.
Sorry you guys smoked you out. Welcome to the world of barbecue.
Sharita Bolden, better known as Mother Hen, tells me this is her 5th year at Jimi Hendrix Park. She says while her focus is on the grill, the focus of this holiday is important to everyone.
Letting them know what Juneteenth is, what it means to us, what it should mean to them too. So it's like, we finally got our freedom, but do we all really have our freedom if you think about it?
So many amazing people down here, amazing stories and amazing food, amazing music. Fantastic day. The events are going to go until later this evening, about 8, but as far as the roller rink, they're only going until 5. That being said, there are events throughout the entire summer. We'll have more information on those Summer of Soul events on Fox13Seattle.com. For me, like I mentioned, there's only about a few hours left, so I want to see if I can get my backwards skating going on, guys. I'll see you later. Grace and Sam Wilkinson's case ruled that DCYF deliberately refused to see Sam for who he is, a loving father and husband.
Ooh. Sam Wilkinson will always remember how he felt when he saw Sequoia for the first time after growing up adopted, never knowing his birth parents.
That was such a surreal moment for me because it was the very first moment that I laid eyes on my own blood.
And Sam can't forget that day, 7 months later, when a doctor took her from him and how he felt then.
I'm a person that believes that through most circumstances, life goes on. But the thought of not having my daughter doesn't really feel like life would go on.
Sam and his wife, Grace, lost custody of their daughter by being good parents. February 25th, they rushed Sequoia to an urgent care. When they saw she was holding her arm funny, they ordered an x-ray. It showed Sequoia actually had a fracture, and the family should go immediately to Seattle Children's Hospital because she needed surgery. But at Children's, everything changed.
We felt like criminals from the get-go. Just because of the nature of a 7-month-old having a fracture, it's not common. You could just tell that the whole dynamic changed.
The injury, because it was uncommon, was treated as evidence. One or both parents were responsible. It was a medical certainty.
That's really what it is that it was a diagnosis of child abuse, not just an accusation. They diagnosed our daughter with child abuse. I didn't know what the SCAN team was until we got an attorney.
SCAN stands for Safe Child and Adolescent Network. It's a team of pediatricians under contract with Washington's Department of Children, Youth, and Families who have special training to decide whether a child's injury is from abuse or neglect. The scan pediatrician handling Sequoia's case was Dr. Elena Feldman. And in her expert opinion, the x-rays showed at least 3 more broken bones besides Sequoia's elbow.
The doctor on the scan team, Elena Feldman, stated that these injuries were better understood as like child abuse injuries.
The situation felt hopeless, but Sam and Grace weren't helpless.
When we heard Elena Feldman, the name for the doctor, they decided they wanted to look her up.
It was there that we found your story on Casey.
Ready, set.
In February, we brought you the story of Casey Sigmund and her baby boy Kane. Like the Wilkinsons, Casey had brought her son to Seattle Children's Hospital. And like the Wilkinsons, she was blindsided by the scan team's determination that Kane had a sure sign of abuse. Even the doctor who made the diagnosis was the same, Dr. Elena Feldman. The judge ruled Dr. Feldman had made a mistake. There were no signs of abuse or neglect, and Casey and Kane were reunited. Buoyed by Casey's story, Sam and Grace reached out to her for any advice she could give to turn their situation around.
And the next day, my mom got a message back, and Casey's like, you guys need to hire a lawyer.
Attorney Elena Treball was fresh from winning a child custody battle against DCYF when Sam and Grace hired her. Treball's first move was clear.
I wanted to ensure that we had a second opinion, time to figure out what exactly happened to Sequoia.
If DCYF had Scan, the Wilkinsons had Dr. Naran Alajba.
You have a child abuse team, so you need a child abuse defense team.
Dr. Alajba is a practicing pediatrician with more than 2 decades of experience. She's also an instructor on staff at Seattle Children's Hospital, and for the past several years, she's been brought in to consult on alleged child abuse cases. After reviewing Sequoia's case, 3 things became clear. 1, neither Sam nor Grace hurt Sequoia.
2 weeks after the original person says there's a break, there should be a bright white thing happening here.
I don't see anything.
No, of course not. Here, same thing. Do you see anything? No, it all looks good.
We shared what we had found, which was that we believe Sequoia has marks of poor bone formation, which is a relatively common condition for newborn babies.
2, Dr. Feldman's diagnosis was done sight unseen.
We've learned not only through testimony, but also through, the scan team's own records, that they do not believe it is medically necessary to personally examine the patient prior to making their diagnoses.
And 3, the social workers back at the hospital had already decided who was to blame.
They asked me how Sam was in the house and his behavior and how he treated Sequoia and I. And so I could connect the dots of like, okay, now they're trying to pin this on Sam.
Misread x-rays, misjudged character that led to a mistaken diagnosis of abuse. But would the court agree? At the Wilkinson's custody hearing, Judge Nicole Gaines Phelps reached the same conclusion. And she found the scan team made its decisions based on conscious and unconscious bias towards people that come from minority communities, particularly Black and brown communities.
They had no problem diagnosing child abuse, but then when it came time to explain why they made that diagnosis, they couldn't show up.
For a judge to use their position to call out and just name that it was racial bias. I was sitting next to him and we both just took a deep breath in that moment and just cried.
I reached out to officials from both Seattle Children's Hospital and DCYF for on-camera interviews regarding this story. An official from DCYF told me they cannot comment on cases. Seattle Children's did not answer my request for an interview. Reporting in the studio, AJ Janavel, Fox 13 News.